Day 13 of the walk. Just past Hillcrest, 11 k's away from Pine Town. You know the drill. When we get to reflect, nothing but the road behind us, nothing but the road ahead. He's the founder of Hope for Africa, and a mover. And it's humid, the air is humid, you can already start smelling the beach, you can start smelling the sea, you know. It smells fresh, it's green, it's a bit windy as well, so as you can see my hat is just being blown all over the place by the winds. But it's a good feeling, you know. 13 days in, we've been walking from Kwa-Thema to Durban, Kwa-Thema to Durban exactly. Now today's reflections are quite simple. So if you in the 90s, there was an old man, and I hope he's still alive, he might still be alive. He used to walk around telling us young kids about these 3 things that are important to life. And he said, self-discipline, self-control, and a sound mind. And he used to repeat these. Every time you just meet him and he tell you the same thing. Self-discipline, self-control, and a sound mind, you know. Now I've grown to a point where I've realized that that is the holy trinity of character development. That guy was onto something. And I'll break it down now just to explain what I mean. But then on top of that, he added a very strong foundational element to it, which is the element of repetition. So, you know, when you're building a habit, you need to repeat it over and over again. And this guy did it throughout his lifetime. So when I was in primary school, I'd meet him, he'd be saying the same thing. When I was in high school, I'd meet him, he'd be saying the same thing. And now today, I'm a grown man, and his words still vibrate in my mind and in the subconscious. So he understood the power of repetition. So that guy was a maverick. If he was doing it in this time and age, he'd be considered a maverick, you know? He'd be considered a legend. He'd be considered one of the greatest thinkers of our times, because he knew how to cultivate minds within our society. Now, we understood it from a childlike level at the time, because you have to be self-disciplined, you have to have self-control and a sound mind. But now, as an old man now, I see now the depth of what he was saying, because if you break down self-discipline, let's start with self-discipline, which is the ability to do something when you should do it, in the best way possible, regardless of how you feel. You know, so that's the definition of discipline. Saying that you're gonna do something and doing it when you should do it, regardless of how you feel, and doing it in the best manner. Now that for me is the first principle to success, because it means that it gives you motion. It's the first thing that gives you motion. It gives you initiative. It gets the wheels going, because once you start getting the habit of doing things, you're initiating, you're self-initiating, and your car starts moving. So if your life is stagnant, self-discipline is what can push your life, because then you're doing things, you're getting things done, and then the wheel starts moving, right? So that is definitely a primary factor of success. So he was on the money with that one. Now let's talk about self-control. Now self-control is the ability, you know, withhold your negativity, your emotions, your anger, basically controlling the expression of the emotions that you feel. Now, when we talk about some of the issues, for instance, gender-based violence, we are talking about people who lack self-control in a nutshell. That's what it is. When you talk about people involved in gender-based violence, you're talking about people who lack self-control. What do I mean? I mean that when a man is angry, when a man is being pushed out of his element and he wants to solve an issue, or he wants to deal with something and he decides to lay a hand, that's a lack of self-control, because that's no amount of anger should lead you to laying a hand on your woman. So you're out of control. You don't have self-control. Let's switch it up, because gender-based violence is a two-way street. Now let's talk about women with a sharp tongue, women who insult men, women who push men to points of extreme anger. Now, but they themselves don't have self-control, because they know that they shouldn't be saying these things. They know that these things hurt. They know that these things pierce, but then they will say them and hurt the other person and cause damage to the other person emotionally, which is also a form of violence. So now you've got two people here that do not have self-control. They're not exercising self-control. But also then it spreads, so that that's in a domestic environment. Now let's look at it in a societal perspective. Now you've got people in a workplace. You know, they have arguments. Instead of having self-control, you throw your toys around, you know, and then next thing you know, you lose your job. Self-control, theft is also a matter of self-control. Just because you have access to stealing something doesn't mean that you should steal it. You should exercise a level of self-control. We talk about corruption, self-control. We talk about some of the social ills. It's just a lack of self-control, because there's always a point where you can decide, no, I'm not going to do this. This is the way I'm not going to fall for this. I'm going to change my direction and do it right. So it's a lack of self-control. So that's key point number 2. And then a sound mind. Now, a sound mind is basically the ability to think clear. It's the ability to cut off the noise from entering your mind, or from entertaining the noise, which also connects to the other two, because you cannot have self-discipline, you cannot exercise self-control without a sound mind, and you can't keep the car moving, you can't keep your life moving without a sound mind. Now that means, that talks to spirituality, that speaks to meditation, prayer, reading books that center you spiritually, reading material that grows you as a person, you know. So that is the holy trinity of character development. That is the holy trinity of building, you know, like a sound person, like a proper character person. Now, of course, there's more elements that are attached to this, but then they can always spin off from these 3 points. From self-discipline, there's a whole lot of things that you can build around that. Time management, respect, integrity. Those are all concepts that can be associated with self-discipline. Self-control, you know, like I said, it's about emotional intelligence. It's about knowing when to act, when not to act, when to speak, when not to speak. It's about being aware of others' emotions as well. And sound mind is about inner peace. You know, not allowing violence to disturb you, or unpleasant thoughts to disturb you, which also is a precursor to joy. You know, living a very joyful life, and the repetition of those, as the old man would do it so well, is how you entrench it into your subconscious mind, so that you live by these principles and you keep pushing. So that's my reflection for today. Timer, I know Gutsberg was a Kasi, and I just don't know your name, but I know your words, because you were always teaching us this thing as kids. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Guti, thank you for making that contribution to me and others, because I've seen me once, but me, that talk about this and talk about you, and we say, you know, may God bless you. And if you're no longer with us, I'm just gonna say, may your soul rest in peace, and may you know in heaven that Ntsikelelo Mzibomvu was not for nothing. Anyway, that's my reflection for the day. Sonbona ke masasuke pha in town seThekwini. Thank you very much, guys. You know, we're still looking for donations for the walk for change, and this is what we're doing, Namachita. And please do, it's not about being perfect, it's about trying. I keep saying it's not about being perfect, it's about trying. And then no 2 days are like Namhlanje, you might not have, but tomorrow an opportunity might come around. Just keep moving, keep making the country better, and keep making yourself better. Yes, all love. That's it.